Hello, fellow AI enthusiasts. Here are 25 Midjourney style codes that have traditional Asian look. So this is another deep dive into Midjourney style codes that I have been discovering from the lower ranges of the numbers. As they go from 0 to over 4 billion, I find it simpler to just start from 0 and go from there. The styles are just as good as the ones from the bigger ranges, and I have yet to see any repeating ones. There is always some kind of difference to them. This time we shall be concentrating on styles I would classify as Asian or Asian-inspired, like traditional Chinese or Japanese-looking styles. The big distinction being that none of these looks like anime. I wanted to push the limits of these styles, so I picked some words that would, on purpose, be a bit different from the Asian culture thematics, to see what happens and how the style is able to blend different kinds of themes. As always, I have prompted each style 5 times, well actually 7, because I do generate the video clips in the beginning and end part of my video based on these styles, but not all images from the 2 extra prompts make it to the video. So if you would like to see them all, you could become a member of my Patreon or Ko-fi to get access to all of them, along with the prompts in a PDF format. But what you will see is one landscape, aspect ratio 16:9 prompt with just the period symbol. And then 4 portrait aspect ratio 9:16 prompts with the following subjects. This time I chose opera singer as the person prompt to see what happens. This may actually be the most traditional looking prompt of my selections, because as I found out, opera is not only a Western thing, but many Asian cultures have similar kinds of performances. The second prompt was Gothic Abbey. So an architecture prompt that should definitely show up as something else than traditional Asian. Simply because Gothic abbeys are not a thing in Asian cultures, and they usually have a distinct Western look. I'm looking forward to seeing how much the styles pick up from the underlying Asian style, and how much they will be following the prompt text. The third prompt is puffin. A bird, an animal. I don't think many puffins live in Asia, but let's see what happens. And the fourth prompt, orbital farm, adds in some sci-fi element, as the styles seemed to be very traditional. Based on the first glance with the period symbol prompt, I wanted to contrast them with something extremely futuristic. This time, I remembered to use my usual seed number 777 for the comparison prompts. So the seed is the same for each image grid, just the style changes. So the impact on the look is completely coming from the style code number. If you've watched my videos before, to use the style, you need to turn personalization off, which is on by default in Midjourney's version 7, and then just add --SREF and the number of the style to the end of your prompt. You can have all kinds of other parameters in there as well. Just as long as they're all after the text part of your prompt, they can be in any order. And if you decide to keep the seed number and you try out the same prompt, there is a very big chance you could end up with the exact same image as I did. It's not guaranteed, but it could happen. Oh, and the names of the styles are made up, and they don't correspond to the actual style in any way. I just like to name them. Alright, so now that we've got the introduction done, let's go and look at the styles. 2, 3, 6. Serene Inkwash Landscapes. Muted Celadon, soot ink and blush coral washes sit over gentle paper grain, edged with tapering calligraphic strokes. It reads like inkwash watercolor with woodblock clarity, calm reflections, soft haze, and an autumn cool hush. Portraits slot in beautifully. The opera singer's costume, makeup, and posture become flowing strokes, and the mineral palette keeps skin tones gentle. Gothic Abbey turns lyrical under mist as tiered silhouettes, and the puffin, drawn like a crisp ink bird, helps anchor the shared coral accents and tapered limework. The orbital farm is the outlier. It works when machinery is reduced to brushy contours and matte surfaces, but stiffens when hard, glossy forms break the inkwash illusion. 282. Serene monochrome scroll. Warm rice paper background with black and smoke grey ink washes, soft bleeds, and a few dry brush edges. The scenes feel open and quiet, with mist, simple silhouettes, and the faint paper grid peeking through. The opera singer works great. Robes and headpieces read as quick brush moves, with faces kept simple but clear. Gothic Abbey turns into stacked ink shapes and thin spires, and the puffin reads like a neat bird study. The shared paper tone, seals and margins keep things consistent. Orbital Farm is the trickiest. Floating worlds painted as big washes look good, but once the scene leans on tight machinery, the brush style fights it. 305. Gilded Azure Reverie. Rich lapis and burnished gold dominate, laid in broad, flat shapes with a lacquer-like finish over parchment grain. Fine decorative limework, moon discs and flecked textures give it a courtly, storybook calm. The opera singer feels native to this look. Robes read like brocade panels, faces stay simple and striking, and the round halos echo the landscapes. Gothic Abbey gets recast as a gilded cutout with clean spires. Silhouettes sing, while the heavy stone depth is dialed back. Puffin and Orbital Farm both lean on the same language of circles and flat colour. The beak mirrors the gold, and the farm turns into medallion worlds, so the East meets West and sci-fi mix holds up best when shapes stay bold and decorative, not tight and mechanical. 314. Crimson Inked Landscape Narrative. Deep black ink and slate greys sit on off-white paper, with hard layout frames, margin notes and pops of punchy crimson. Washy mist, dry brush and sharp graphic blocks give it a cool, wintry, comic page vibe. The opera singer fits cleanly. Costume panels, makeup shapes and stage light all love this red-black palette, and the page design feels like a character sheet. Gothic Abbey turns into poster art. Tall vaults and stained glass become bold geometry with smart crimson hits. Puffin and Orbital Farm handle the East meets West / sci-fi mix best when forms stay simple and diagram-like. Once the tech gets glossy or overly detailed, the brush and grid look starts to fight it. 325. Misty Grayscale Inkwash. Soft black and white inkwash with wet into wet bleeds, splatter and rough paper grain. Edges stay hazy and windblown. The mood is stormy and quiet at the same time, like weather rolling through an old landscape. The opera singer works well. Gesture and fabric become sweeping brush trails while faces stay simple. Across the set, the same smoky palette and bursty textures keep things together. The Abbey turns into misty value blocks, and the puffin pops with a crisp eye and beak against soft feathers. The Orbital Farm handles the East meets sci-fi mix when shapes stay bold and cloud-wrapped. But once it needs lots of tiny mechanical limes, the look goes mushy and loses punch. 331. Lantern-lit blue-orange ink. Deep indigo and lantern gold split the scene into cool shadow and warm glow, with chunky brushwork, soft bloom, and gritty paper texture. The vibe is night market cinematic, quiet streets, hanging lights and a cozy hush. Portraits thrive in this light. Faces and fabric catch the amber, while everything else settles into blue. So the singer feels staged without extra detail. Gothic Abbey keeps its western silhouette, but the shared palette turns it into a moody night shot that sits naturally beside the lantern streets. For Puffin and Orbital Farm, big shapes and rim-lit edges carry the look. When the farm stays simple and lets the glow do the work, the East meets sci-fi combo clicks. 360. Saffron-wash oriental etch. Saffron and tea rose washes sit on parchment with fine ink outlines, stipple, and tidy gradients. The scene feels like a calm miniature. Flat shapes, orderly trees, tiny animals, and a soft storybook horizon. In portrait tests, the palette sticks, but the treatment leans 18th century European, powdered faces, lace, and studio backdrops, so the Asian label starts slipping. Gothic Abbey fits the same printmaker linework, and the puffin turns into a natural history plate. The shared paper tone, borders, and flat shading keep the set visually together. Orbital Farm jumps into almanac-style diagrams and sun medallions. Fun, but it pushes the whole thing toward Western illustrated books rather than classical Asian art. 478. Silkbrush Classical Scroll. Silk Scroll palette of Celadon, warm beige and soft slate, with little pops of indigo and persimmon. Washes sit light on the paper with fine, tapering brush lines. Lots of breathing room, and gentle gradients give it a quiet, court-painting calm. Portraits feel native here. Flowing robes, soft faces, and floral backdrops melt into the paper and show off the delicate line. Gothic Abbey is tamed into pale palace shapes. The spires stay, but the heavy stone becomes airy pigment, so the set still feels like one world. Puffin and Orbital Farm work best when they echo garden motifs, the bird among blossoms, the farm as floating orbs and bridges, while tight mechanical detail starts to look out of place. 485. Ink Garden Harmony. Crisp pen outlines on off-white cotton paper with almost no shading, just clean contours, tiny hatching, and roomy margins. It feels light and handmade, with round vignettes and the occasional seal giving a printmaking vibe. Portraits come out sharp and charming. The opera singer shows the style's sweet spot, clear contour, flowing dress, and a mic defined in a few lines. Gothic Abbey stays very Western in shape, but the single weight line, borders, and stamp marks make it sit naturally with the rest. Puffin and Orbital Farm turn into playful outline pages, the bird like a field sketch, and the farm like simple diagrams, though when the sci-fi bits want depth, the all-line approach goes a bit flat. 516. Inkline Garden Scroll. Pale tea ivory paper with charcoal ink lines and tiny washes of sage and muted blue. Everything is light, airy, and patterned like a scroll or fine wallpaper. Miniature villages, dotted paths, and delicate trees sit in lots of breathing space, with tidy hatching and soft grain. Figures in costume look elegant here. Clear line, gentle fabric shapes, and small accents keep them calm and classy. Gothic Abbey turns into pale tracery and lacy spires, so even though it's Western, it still feels like it belongs in this quiet world. Puffin and Orbital Farm shift toward map pages and decorative medallions. That makes the set lean more chinoiserie toile than strictly Asian, unless the farm stays as simple symbols and light ink circles instead of busy machinery. 531. Silent Rain Hanhua. Pebble greys and pale sage washes settle on off-white paper, edged with thin ink lines and a few soft rust accents. The mood is rainy and reflective, low contrast, roomy negative space, and quiet village moments. Character prompts swing a bit manga, smooth skin, larger eyes, and fashion pose staging nudge the look toward modern illustration, even as the palette stays gentle. Gothic church scenes behave well in this system. Spires melt into mist and feel like the same world as the landscapes. Puffin studies and the orbital farmland clean and graphic. The bird feels at home, and the farm's tidy aerial discs read like map vignettes. So it's mainly the people that pull the set away from a strictly traditional Asian feel. 585. Celadon Ink Harmony. Sea glass, Celadon, teal and sandy ochre flow in big cloud-like patches over warm cream. It feels like ink and gouache made graphic. Flat colour stacks, wavy contours, and calm negative space. Figures take the palette well, robes break into curling colour plumes, and the singer stays clear even with minimal line. Gothic Abbey turns into a travel poster silhouette wrapped in the same drifting shapes, so the Western subject sits comfortably in this look. Puffin and Orbital Farm both benefit from the bold blocks. The bird pops against soft slabs, and the farm becomes swirling planets and paths, though tiny mechanical details can feel fussy next to these broad strokes. 592. Cross-hatched ink drawing. Warm newsprint paper with dense graphite cross-hatching, panel borders and little caption bars. Lines swing from loose travel sketch to tight architectural detail. It feels like documentary pages. Angled perspectives, pencil tone and margin grit instead of brush and wash. Expressive cross-hatching sells the singer's gesture and mic setup, giving strong stage contrast without needing colour. Architecture loves this medium. Spires, vaults and street canyons lock in with perspective grids, so the Abbey comes out especially strong. Puffin feathers and the Orbital Farm's machinery both suit the same line density and page layout, but the vibe shifts from traditional Asian toward graphic novel reportage. The shared paper tone and panel design keep the set feeling like one printed series. 601. Cleanline Village Illustration. Sky blue and warm beige plains with crisp vector edges, tiny shadows and tidy line accents. Cheerful midday mood, flat colour blocks, round clouds, and a neat storybook calm. Characters land as friendly mascots. The opera singer is built from simple shapes with gentle highlights. The Abbey becomes a clean postcard, tall spires in the same blue and cream palette, while the Puffin turns sticker cute and lively. Orbital Farm goes full infographic with domes and floating plates. It works visually, but the West/sci-fi prompts shift this from traditional Asian toward modern flat illustration. 689. Gilded Screen Inkscape. Hammered leaf gold panels washed with teal, ultramarine and plum sit under gallery spotlights, with waves, cranes and blossom branches painted over the metallic ground. It feels opulent and ceremonial. Monumental screens with a lacquered gleam and calm, court-painting rhythm. Figure shots in ornate robes feel made for this look. The gold ground turns fabric into tapestry, while faces stay simple against the shine. The Gothic church actually works. Spires and vaults become gilded nave murals, with the jewel blues tying the Western subject into the same decorative world. Puffin and Orbital Farm go graphic. The bird turns into a little enamel emblem, and the farm into moon medallions and garden plants. The look stays strongest on gold backdrops, while flat cyan panels or heavy realism push it toward modern set dressing. 715. Silver Fog Epic. Cold silver blue monochrome with deep blacks, misty bloom and sharp silhouettes. A hint of film grain and vignetting pushes it toward photo cinema. Big backlight, towering clouds and wide frames give it that epic night before the battle energy. Stage shots of the singer benefit from the same spotlight logic, so gesture and dress feel huge without needing colour. The Gothic church really suits this look. The stone turns luminous and the spires feel like fantasy matte paintings, which leans the set more toward Western cinema than classical Asian art. Puffin and Orbital Farm carry the drama too. The bird becomes a windswept hero on a cliff, and the farm loves the planet and cloud language, making the sci-fi pairing the most natural fit here. 751. Celadon ink, Serenity. Celadon and tea green washes drift over warm rice paper, edged with fine brush lines and soft, misty gradients. It's quiet and pastoral. Layered mountains, tiny figures, seal stamps, and a gentle scroll page grain. Figure tests keep the palette and paper feel. Flowing robes and calm faces sit naturally in this medium. The Gothic church turns airy and pastel. Some panels slip into European postcard territory, but the Celadon haze and delicate line keep it in the same world. Puffin and Orbital Farm are unexpectedly comfy. The bird works as a nature study among leaves, and the farm clicks as floating islands and moon discs, best when shapes stay simple and wash-led. 7, 6, 5. Chromatic wavewood ink. Candy bright magenta, teal, jade and tangerine snap into thick outlines and punchy gradients, with foamy wave curls and cloud swirls framing everything. It feels like folk tattoo poster art, high contrast, flat depth, and a loud festival mood. Characters jump straight into sticker mode. Chunky line, glossy highlights, and ornate headpieces suit the palette, but trade away subtle brushwork. Gothic Abbey turns into a carnival postcard. Still fun, yet clearly Western pop art riding on an Asian wave motif rather than traditional ink logic. Puffin is the best fit as a bold mascot, while the Orbital Farm drifts toward Americana calendar ovals. The shared outlines and colour ramps keep it together, but the vibe skews more novelty art than classical. 7, 6, 6. Softlined Korean impression. Soft sage, river teal and warm stone tones in creamy oil-like brushwork. Rounded edges, low contrast, and a chalky glaze. The vibe is mid-century studio painting meeting scroll calm. Soft modelling, gentle vignettes, drifting lines. Across the verticals, the same soft oil treatment keeps everything velvety and slightly dreamlike. The opera singer benefits from quiet modelling and simple shapes, while the Gothic Abbey turns into pastel masonry that leans European painting more than ink, but still fits this palette. Puffin becomes a strong graphic anchor against green grounds, and the Orbital Farm drifts toward toy map aerials, best when forms stay broad and painterly rather than fussy. 772. Cobalt scroll sketchwork. Cobalt blue linework on bright white paper. Ballpoint-style contours, neat hatching and curling wave motifs gives a porcelain ink vibe. The atmosphere is clean and breezy, more sketchbook/blueprint than brush and wash, with lots of open space. Costume and figure work hits the sweet spot. Clear outlines, patterned trim, and minimal shading keep the singer strong without clutter. Gothic Abbey shifts into elegant architectural blueprints, while the Puffin becomes a tidy field sketch. The consistent cobalt line, margins and little stamp marks keep everything in the same lane. Orbital Farm is best as floating island diagrams. When it leans on heavy shading or shiny machinery, the single ink approach goes flat and a bit toy-like. 779. Blushed ink blossom. Pale rice paper whites with soft blush, Celadon, and ink grey washes, finished by delicate line and lots of open space. It feels airy and floral, gentle gradients, light texture, and quiet negative space doing most of the work. People in costume drop in naturally. Flowing fabric and small blush accents match the base without needing heavy detail. Gothic Abbey softens into pale cliffs and spires, and the shared paper tone plus misty washes keep everything in the same calm world. Puffin works like a tidy nature study, while the Orbital Farm is best as moons, orbs, and floating gardens. Once it leans into hard machinery, it starts to feel out of place. 796. Layered silk relief. Cut paper diorama look. Stacked rounded shapes in peach, indigo, moss and cream with felt-like texture and soft drop shadows. It feels handmade and cheerful, flat layers, punchy silhouettes and little stamp details. Costumed figures become paper dolls with appliqué robes and clean, readable poses, right in the pocket for this technique. Gothic Abbey comes across as a cardboard model. Despite being Western, it fits because the style favours big shapes, flat perspective, and bold colour blocks. And the same tactile paper grain runs through everything. Puffin is a natural sticker mascot, and the orbital farm turns into coin-like planets and terraced mini-worlds. Both hold up as long as details stay chunky. Fine-tech lines quickly break the crafty illusion. 835. Golden lacquer glow. Sun-washed oranges, maple reds, and turquoise accents in smooth digital brushwork with soft bloom and crisp rim light. It feels like storybook autumn. Clean silhouettes, gentle depth of field, and a cozy cinematic glow. Human figures hold up well. In the singer shots, saturated fabric and backlight match the landscape warmth without needing heavy detail. The Gothic church leans fully Western, but still fits, because the same sunset palette and painterly edges wrap the stone into a fairy tale scene. Puffin and Orbital Farm push it modern. The bird turns into a glossy mascot, and the farm into rockets and balloons. So this mix works best when shapes stay chunky and whimsical rather than hard tech. 840. Bleached brush scenery. Cool inkwash with bleached greys and a hint of lake blue, all on rough paper grain. Loose, watery brushwork, misty vignettes and dry brush trees give it a weathered, calm feel. Figure shots handle the loose wash well. The singer's pose stays clear while fabric melts into soft value. Western spires become plein air sketches in the same palette, and the puffin gives a simple, hard edge moment that pops against the fog. The orbital farm works best as cloud-wrapped spheres and broad shapes. Once it needs lots of tiny parts, things get muddy and the image loses snap. 843. Pale jade landscape wash. Jade and seafoam greens with pearly highlights wash over the scenes, trimmed by blush blossoms and soft airbrushed light. It's dreamy and polished, glossy brushwork, big cottony clouds, and lake mist depth. Figure shots take the glow well. Flowing fabric and gentle skin tones feel at home, though one frilly European-styled singer nudges the vibe away from traditional Asian. The same mint palette, misty gradients, rounded clouds and petal accents keep everything on the same wavelength. Standouts. The Gothic church turns into a pastoral postcard. The puffin pops clean against sea glass skies, and the orbital farm works as floating gardens and spheres, best when it stays broad and whimsical, not gadget-heavy. All right. These were the Asian-inspired styles I found while exploring Midjourney style codes. Here's the quick wrap-up. Across 25 Asian-inspired styles, faces, characters were usually the easiest fit. Gothic Abbey often blended in once silhouettes and palette took over. Puffin worked as a clean nature study. Orbital Farm held only when it stayed as simple orbs, bridges, and diagrams. Tight, glossy machinery broke the illusion. Big takeaways. Styles with bold shapes, flat or decorative logic, and brush-led edges stay convincing when the theme shifts. Once a look demands fine mechanical detail or hard realism, the traditional feel fades fast. I'm curious which ones you'd actually trust for a real brief, and where they slipped. Drop your picks and any curveballs you want me to test next. If this helped, a like or sub makes a big difference and keeps these deep dives going. Either way, thanks for supporting the channel and for all the smart comments. You always spark better experiments. Thanks again for watching, and let's continue prompting.